All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Prevention of Blindness Society of Metropolitan Washington's Tech Talk Tuesdays. These are held every third Tuesday at 1 p.m. This month, I'm excited to say that we have a special guest on, Mr. Stan Gowan, who's going to be talking a little bit about the Amazon Alexa. Now, there was a part one to this in October, so if you haven't had a chance to listen to that one, you can visit our YouTube page or always shoot us an email or visit our website to find a recording of that previous session. This is a part two, so we're going to expand a little bit more. We gave folks a chance to send in what sort of topics they're interested in, and Stan's prepared a presentation on that. And then we'll also have plenty of time for you all to ask your own questions about doing different things with the Amazon Alexa, which is a really, really powerful tool. Now, before we get started, just one quick announcement. On Sunday, December 4th at 12:30 p.m. at Leisure World of Maryland, we will be having our Being the Light Friends and Family Connection event. Now, the official deadline for signing up was yesterday. However, we are going to extend it another week. So if you get it in by the end of next Tuesday, you can still get your spot. So if you're interested in signing up for our Being the Light Friends and Family Connection event, you can always give me a call. You can shoot us an email at events@youreyes.org, or you can always give our resource hotline a call too. That number is 301-951-4444. So that was the major announcement. I also want to share, it is Thanksgiving time of year, so I hope you all enjoy the holidays together. We have had a couple presentations this month on different ways for cooking with low vision. So if you're interested in learning information about that, you can, again, shoot us an email or give us a call. Finally, and I'm just letting a couple more folks in while we're getting started here. Like I mentioned previously, everyone is muted upon entry. We do that just to prevent any background noise, to make sure that the presentation runs smoothly. But you can unmute yourself. So to unmute yourself, there's a little microphone at the bottom left of your screen. The other option you can do is press the Alt button plus the letter A as an alpha. That will mute and unmute you. You should get a verbal response when you mute yourself or unmute yourself. If you're on the phone, it is *6. And if you have a Mac, which is the Apple version, it is Command plus Shift, I think is the one, plus the letter A. So whatever is typically the replacement for Alt is going to be that plus the letter A. If you're running into any problems, there's also a chat box that you can write into if you have questions. I will be monitoring that as well. So if you have questions throughout the presentation, please feel free to do that. But without further ado, we have about 40 minutes or 45 minutes here. So I want to make sure that we give as much time as possible to Stan. So Stan, Mr. Stan Gowan, I'm going to pass the mic to you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. I hope everybody can hear me just fine. I also want to test that you can hear my Echo device here because I have a different one than I used last time. I have an Echo Show here because I'm going to demonstrate a couple of things which require the camera. Alexa, what's the weather in Rio de Janeiro?
Right now in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, it's 86 degrees Fahrenheit with partly sunny skies. Today's forecast has lots of clouds with a high of 86 degrees and a low of 75 degrees.
Okay, I hope everybody heard that. I did that so everybody could get a little hint of warm weather that will eventually be back in our area.
Yes, Stan, that came through beautifully, and I think I might be going to Rio here in the next week.
So I want to start by saying some questions did come in, and I want to start with what I think is one of the most powerful capabilities of the Echo family of devices which have screens and cameras. And those devices are collectively known as Echo Show, S-H-O-W. They are typically a bit more expensive than the standard Echo or the Echo Dot, which do not have any video capability. There are several models, and they come out with new models every year or so with enhanced capabilities. I have one upstairs that we use that will actually has technology that will actually follow speakers. So it's possible, say, for example, if you're having a video conference with using Zoom or with using the Amazon Echo video to video connection, the camera, the screen will actually rotate to whomever is speaking. And it does it a lot better than you'd think it would for a home device. My sister, who can see perfectly well, reports that when we use it, it's more or less like watching a news show. It doesn't tend to make you dizzy. The downside is occasionally it locks in on things that aren't people. For example, it likes my knife rack for some reason, and it will spin and point at that. But it shows that this technology is evolving and getting more capable all the time. The first thing I want to demonstrate, as I said, is something that I think is a very powerful tool to use on the Amazon Echo Show devices. It is basically called What Am I Holding? The command for it is herself, and I use herself because I don't want her to respond just yet. Herself, what am I holding? The first time you do this, the device will give you read out instructions and suggestions on how to use this. What it's for is for identifying items that you might have in around the house, particularly items in the kitchen, such as cans or boxes or bottles of various and sundry foodstuffs or ingredients, what have you. In order to use it, you do not have to be able to see, because it does give you audible guidance on how to maneuver what you're attempting to identify in front of the Echo Show's camera. Now, the first time you say herself, what am I holding? It will give you a rundown on how to use the feature. First and foremost, it tells you approximately where the camera is on your device. Now, the thing to remember is the camera cannot be felt tactily. It is behind the glass screen. And typically, it is in the upper right-hand corner of the screen, right under either the switch or the button that is used to turn the camera on and off. If your camera is off when you ask for this feature, the device, the Amazon Echo, will tell you that the camera is off, and either how to turn it on using the button or switch on the device. I have not actually tried turning the camera on and off with an Echo command, but I think it will work. I don't want to try it here in case it turns it off and I can't turn it back on. So without any further ado, I'm going to grab something. I have a couple things here appropriate for Thanksgiving, I think. And I'm going to ask my show to identify this. Alexa, what am I holding?
Let's see. It looks like Libby's pumpkin.
Okay, for Thanksgiving. I hope everybody heard that. There was a continuous tone that was heard that lets you know the camera is on and it's looking for what you want to identify. I basically held the can upright using my fingers and my thumb underneath. I held it about a foot away or so from the screen. I don't have to be precise. And I essentially moved that can up and down and side to side slowly until I heard that little jingle sound, which told me that it had acquired enough information to identify the can. And then it said, looks like Libby's pumpkin. Turns out it's actually Libby's pumpkin with spices. Sometimes it says that, sometimes it just says Libby's pumpkin. Now, it's important to understand why it doesn't always say the same thing when you scan the item. And the reason is the first thing the Echo looks for is the barcode, which is what's used at the grocery store to identify items, either when they do inventory or when the cashier or you are scanning those devices to check out of the grocery store. Failing location of a barcode, it will attempt to read the text on the item. In this case, it read Libby's pumpkin. I could have tried to turn the can to get the barcode facing the camera, but the barcode is smaller and a little harder to get oriented properly with the camera. However, if you have packaging with unusual script, or the background color and the foreground color of the identifying text don't have a lot of contrast between them, it may become necessary to use the barcode to identify the item, in which case you'll know because it just takes a lot longer for it to come up and give you the information that you're seeking. That is, you don't hear that little jingle and then what the Amazon Echo device thinks the item is. I have a smaller bottle here. We're going to try that in just a second. Let me grab it. Alexa, what am I holding?
Let's see. If you need to, touch the device to reorient yourself. Try moving your item slowly up or down. If you need to, touch the device to reorient yourself. I could only read everything but the leftovers and on the label. I might be able to recognize more if you try again.
Okay. That actually was pretty good. What this is a bottle of Trader Joe's spice called Everything But the Leftovers. Now, I happen to be happy with that amount of description because I happen to know that we bought that bottle of spice at Trader Joe's yesterday. If that isn't sufficient information for you to be certain what you're trying to identify, you can continue to try to get the Echo to get more information from the bottle. Sometimes you'll succeed and you will get more information. I find that most of the time, it doesn't often give much more information than that. So the tool is not perfect. It has the advantage of this over, say, using your iPhone to read using, say, SuperSense or KNFB Reader or the various barcode readers out there, is you don't have to position the phone over the item or try to hold the phone and the item at the same time. So it does make it a little more convenient when you're, say, preparing a meal in the kitchen to grab something, oh, what is this? And ask herself, what am I holding? I have one more thing to demonstrate. This didn't work very well today, but I'm going to try it anyway, and we'll see what it says. As you can hear from the crinkling, it's a bag, but I don't want to give away what it is. Alexa, what am I holding?
Let's see.
Not done. I'm going to try yet.
I read the following words. Pepperidge Farm cubed stuffing white bread blended with herbs, spices seasoned cubed. If you'd like to hear the tutorial again, say, Alexa, help on show and tell.
Okay, it took some doing because the bag is relatively large. And because the big print on the bag is in an unusual script, it took me a while to orient the bag in such a way that it could read the smaller print on the bag. But as you heard, with patience, it can be done. But I also have to tell you, there are going to be things you may have in your kitchen that it will not be able to identify. It is not perfect, but it's a lot better than no help at all. So before I move on, because I really think this is an important topic, if it's all right with you, Sean, I will take questions about the what am I holding feature of the Amazon Echoes, if there are any.
Yeah, that's fine. And just a reminder, folks, if you have any questions to unmute yourself, it's the Alt button plus the letter A. If you're on the phone, it's *6.
Reverend Ray Razor, I have a question.
Go ahead,
Can
Ray.
you hear me?
Yes, sir.
I have the Show 5, and I have the I don't know, is that the 11, the one that twists around for $250 some? Is that the, now I've been having problem getting that to work, to follow me. And I don't know if I got it set up wrong, or it keep on saying invalid or something. I mean, I don't, maybe.
Yeah, okay, first of all, that, yeah, okay. I'll answer your question as best I can, but it isn't about what I wanted to talk about, because I really think the follow me feature it's nice, but it isn't as important for a blind person as the ability to identify things. In order for the follow me to work, you have to do two things. The first thing you have to do is tell herself, enable motion detection.
Okay.
And then
Okay.
after that is enabled, then the command is herself follow me.
Oh.
If motion detection is off, it's not going to follow you. And I often turn motion detection off because, for example, if I'm working in the kitchen near my device that has that feature, it'll start wiggling around and bumping into things. If I happen to set something on the counter too close to it, it'll pivot around and bump a bottle, and I'm always leery that it's going to knock something on the floor or what have you. So I will tell it to turn motion off.
Okay. Do you have a number or someone we can call to, help us with these devices?
I think the best way to do that would be through the support line through the Prevention of Blindness that Sean gives out.
Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Anybody else?
Let's see. We had one question in the chat box. Can you show an object and have it be identified? So like a tablespoon for a ball?
That is something that software like SuperSense and Seeing AI does pretty well. That capability, to my knowledge, is not yet supported on the Echo devices to the extent that it is on, say, the phones. I'm not going to swear it can't be done, but I've never tried it because I've never seen any literature or what have you that indicates that that's something Amazon is currently trying to make better. If I'm all wrong about that, someone can correct me. And that leads me to another point. Most of these features, particularly the more advanced features of the Echo devices, can be learned about or reviewed by doing searches for YouTube videos. There are a great many YouTube videos out on the internet that describe how to use these more advanced features for the Amazon Echo devices. There are videos on what am I holding? And there are videos on my next topic, which is the Echo magnifier feature. In fact, that I didn't know about that feature, and I found a YouTube video and watched it and explained how to use it. But before I move on to talking about magnifier, are there any more questions about what am I holding?
Sean, this is Janice. I just wanted to comment on the what am I holding? I concur with everything that he said. I have the Echo Show and I use that feature, and it's not 100%, but it is good. And no, it won't identify objects because it is utilizing that barcode function to identify and tell you what it's looking at. But it's a good feature.
Anybody else? And thanks, Janice.
All right, I think we can go on to the next piece. Thank you, Stan.
Okay, I wanted to point out one other thing about this feature. Occasionally, when it identifies something, it will say it can give you more information about it. For example, my wife told me that when it finally did identify the stuffing bread cubes, it put up on the screen the ingredients of what was in the bag. Unfortunately, even though the Echo said it was going to tell me more about the ingredients if I asked it to, it didn't do it. So I don't know whether that's a bug in the software or I simply don't know. But I would say that if the Echo does offer to give you more information about what you have asked it to identify, it'll tell you how to ask it for more information. And I'd say just try it. I couldn't get it to work this morning, so I don't know what to say about that. But again, yes, the feature could probably be improved, but I wouldn't hold my breath that the big improvements will come along because it takes a lot of extra, what we call server bandwidth, to support that additional level of complexity. And these devices are so popular that occasionally there isn't enough bandwidth for the devices to work 100% reliably, just doing the things it does do. That's just the unfortunate consequence of if, 5 million people are using their Echo devices all at once, sometimes there can be local bottlenecks which cause the units to say things like, I don't know about that, or I'm having problems doing that right now. And then you just try again in a little while if you can. Anyway, the next thing I want to talk about is for those of you who have these devices, again, these are the Echo Show devices, the ones with screens. They do have a rudimentary screen magnifier built in. I don't see well enough to use that feature. I have a tiny little bit of vision, but not enough to read the Echo screen magnified well enough to go through the trouble of trying to do it. But let me demonstrate how you turn it on and off, because you can do that by voice. Alexa, turn on magnifier.
Okay, the screen magnifier is on. Here are instructions for how to use it.
Alexa, turn off screen magnifier.
Okay, I turned off the screen magnifier.
Now, the instructions for how to use it, according to my wife, are displayed on the screen and can be magnified. So then you could use the magnified screen to read them. The tactile gestures, just like on your iPhone, all the modern shows have touch screens. What you do to manually turn the magnifier on and off without having to tell the Echo device is triple tap on the screen with one finger, and it will tell you either magnifier on or magnifier off. When the magnifier is on, you can increase the magnification by putting 2 fingers on the screen and then spreading them further apart, what's called the pinch method. It's the same way you get text to be larger on a smartphone or on your iPad. You simply put your 2 fingertips on the screen and spread them apart, making like a wider V, and that will increase the magnification. To decrease the magnification, you put your fingers on the screen relatively far apart, 2 of them, and then draw your two fingers closer together, the pinch, and that will reduce the size of the magnified information on the screen. When you have the screen magnified, you obviously can't see the whole thing because now you're looking like through a magnifying lens. So the way to move around the magnified view around the screen is again done with two fingers. You tap the screen, touch and hold the screen with two fingers, and then drag your fingers left or right or up or down, and that will move the magnified view of the screen around so that you can then hopefully read the information that's on the screen. Again, as I say, I can't really demonstrate it for you because I don't see well enough to do it. There are YouTube videos out there that explain this. Those of you who can see somewhat should give it a try and see if it's helpful to you. There are some downsides. Not all of the Amazon Echo menus magnify. Not all, if you're running a particular skill, not all of the skills support magnified text. So since I don't see well enough to have played with this very much, I can only say, try it, see if it works with the skill you're trying to use and read the magnified text on the screen. I know the main reason someone asked this is if one is asking herself to give me a recipe, can you read the recipe ingredients and whatnot with magnified text? The answer is, for the basic recipes that we've tried on the Echo device, the answer is yes. But if you get into certain recipe skills that are out there that are made by third parties, not by Amazon, the screen may or may not be magnifiable, if that's such a word. That is pretty much what I know about magnifiers. I could take questions, but I'm not sure how many of them I can answer. My advice would be find a YouTube video or just try it by saying herself, turn magnifier on, and then use the pinch, expand, or compress gesture to get the screen contents magnified larger or smaller, and then move your fingers up and down, left and right around the screen until you get the hang of finding things magnified on the screen. Beyond that, I'm not so sure what else I can help. I do think it's a wonderful thing. And if it had been, all of this had come along about 15 years earlier, I would have been able to see well enough to probably take advantage of it. But I am willing to entertain questions about it. But again, I'm not so sure how much I'll be able to help beyond what I've said so far.
Thanks, Stan. I didn't know about that feature. This is Janice. I can't wait to try it.
Okay, good. I didn't know about it either, but I wasn't going to take my thinking that it wasn't there for an answer, and I went and searched and found the YouTube videos. So yes, for some of us who can see better, it may be something of a great deal of use and justify, along with the what am I holding feature, justify the additional expense of the Echo Show over the standard device.
Stan, this is Tara. I have a question.
Sure. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Great.
Does this feature work on all generations of the show? Or doesn't work on the older ones?
Know. I have a second generation show, and I haven't tried it because the screen is a lot smaller. And I think its usability for a partially sighted, visually impaired person might be compromised because the screen itself is pretty small. I'm sure the shows on which the whole front face of the device is a screen, it would work really well.
So you have the 8-inch one? Is it the 8-inch?
I have an 8-inch one, and I have the one that's just slightly smaller.
Okay.
But I think the one I have in here is the 8-inch one. And then I've got the one that tracks with motion, and its screen is about the same size although it has more of a bezel on the screen, so it's kind of hard for me to tell. And then I do have a much earlier show, but that screen is really small. So I don't know whether magnifier works with it or not.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Hello?
Hello, Stan. This is Joe.
Hey, Joe.
For folks, for clients online here that might be interested, that don't have an Echo, and might want to buy the Echo Show, is that something you recommend buying, obviously, like through Amazon, or I wasn't sure best place
I
to.
recommend you buy it where you can get it in a reasonable amount of time at the lowest price. And
like
what
that.
I can say is that Amazon often has the lowest price. I am sure there will be Echo shows on sale for Black Friday. You might have to wait a little longer for it, but I am sure that's going to be the case. I know that periodically throughout the year, they put Echo devices on sale. Often when they're getting ready to come out with a new model, which seems to happen, if not once a year, once every year, year and a half.
Right.
So my advice would be, if you're comfortable shopping on Amazon.com, you search on Echo Show and you see what's on sale and how big the screen is. And it is also true that some Echo devices go on sale at unusual places. For example, I bought an Echo, regular Echo, pretty cheaply at a Bed Bath & Beyond. Now, it's not the show. It wasn't the show, and this was several years ago. But you just never know. Sometimes all kinds of places have these things on sale. And I cannot give you specific advice that will work today, but I would almost bet $1 and be sure of keeping my dollar that there'll be Echoes on sale for Black Friday.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Anybody else?
We had a question in the chat box about schedule with calendar events between the dot and the show. So this person says their Echo Dot speaks all their calendar events, but when they use the show only speaks out the first 4 events, nothing more. Any suggestions on fixing this, or have you ran into that issue at all?
This is probably the downside of the show devices. They tend to speak what is on the screen. And then it's difficult, although I think the calendar, you can ask herself, do I have more events? And she will continue to read more of them, which would be my advice. But yes, the ones without video seem to do a better job of reading everything that's there, because there's no other way for one to get the information. Obviously, the assumption is that if you have a show, you can read the screen. And as we all know, we're in this meeting, that isn't always the case.
It looks like someone shared that they're on sale right now at Kohl's for the show for $34.99. And the Echo Dot 5th generation are $25. So this,
well, the show for $34.99 would be a ridiculously cheap price. I could believe the standard Echo could be on sale for that. I'm not saying it isn't true, but if they have a show for $34.99 and you have a Kohl's nearby, so you can go see it and determine if it's got a screen big enough that you might be able to see it, boy, I'd jump on that.
Stan, it's the same thing on Amazon. I think it's the 5-inch one, which is $34.99.
Okay, I'll bet they're phasing that out.
Yeah.
If it's the 5-inch one, I think you should think pretty seriously about giving it a pass. Unless you're what we used to call a very high partial, that is, your vision is between 2100 and 2200, I doubt a 5-inch screen will be useful to you. So just my thoughts. Someone who has more experience with magnifiers and whatnot would probably be able to give you better advice on that. But as someone who used to see a lot better, I would think now a 5-inch screen would not be that easy to use. And even though it's $34.99, it might be worth doing for the what am I holding, because that will work, because it does have a camera, and the camera capability is not related to the screen size. But if you're hoping to use the magnification feature, I would spend the money for a larger screen.
Stan,
Yes.
this is Sheridan. Thank you so much for doing this. Question, what is the latest generation for the show and or the largest screen? Do you know anything about that?
My understanding is the latest generation has a designation of 8, and I think that's for an 8-inch screen. I don't believe they've come out with one with a larger screen, but I also will say I haven't gone and looked.
Yeah, that's helpful. Thank you.
Anything else? Because if not, I can move on, but I'm happy to take a couple more questions on the show specifically.
And just for reference, it is 1:40, so we have about 15 more minutes before we gotta start wrapping up.
Okay, then I want to move on. Someone asked a question that has a lot of bearing on the security of these devices. And they asked, can you do banking with an Amazon Echo? The simple answer to that is yes, you can, but you have to have, that is, there has to be available an Echo skill offered by your bank. Amazon does not endorse or create a general financial skill. Now, of course, you can use things like calculators and the note-taking capability to help you keep track of things. But if you want to find something like what's my bank balance, or what is I want to transfer money from checking to savings, or what have you, you have to go open the Amazon Echo app, either on your computer or your iPhone or your iPad. You have to go to if it's on the iPhone, you go to the bottom of the screen, the bottom right, and find the button that says More. You tap that, and then you go to the top of the screen and swipe down to where it says Skills. You double tap that, and you go in, and then there's a search box that you can get to by tapping a button that's in the upper right-hand side of the screen. And then you can enter something like bank, B-A-N-K, and then press the search button. Then it will list all the skills that have bank in their titles. Now, this may not catch every single bank that's out there, but it would probably catch most of them. There are a great many of them. I was looking at several of them this morning, and to be honest, most of them don't do very much. I also have no idea how hard it is to set the skill up, because you would have to, in order to get useful information, like what's my bank balance, you'd have to provide probably information about your bank account, maybe a PIN, just like you would use at an ATM machine. And for the following reasons, I've not pursued doing this. In my opinion, I feel that certain kinds of information shared with Amazon's servers that are used to support the Echo are not necessarily secure enough to do certain kinds of features. And for me, banking is one of those features. Since I can do my banking with a screen reader on my computer where I understand the security, and I also know that that internet connection goes directly to the bank, not through Amazon to the bank, I feel much more comfortable about banking on my computer than I do on my Echo. Now, maybe some of you might feel differently about that, in which case you're welcome to investigate and see if there's an Amazon skill for your particular bank, say M&T or Southern Bank or whatever it happens to be. I also do not take advantage of the ability for the Echo devices to shop for me. You can have an Amazon Echo device set up to buy something directly using the Amazon Echo on either Amazon or using third-party skills, say to do grocery shopping. I don't feel confident doing that either, because there are too many horror stories of granddaughter going to grandma's and ordering a bunch of cookies. Now that's really cute, okay? If I were grandma, I might be a little upset that granddaughter ordered the cookies, but that's not too bad. But who knows what kinds of things someone might be able to order using these shopping services. So I have that disabled on my Amazon Echo devices. I don't use them to shop, even though I admit freely that'd be really convenient. But there's a line I draw between convenience and security. There was also an Echo feature that came out a couple of years ago called Pavement. And what that allowed your Echoes to do is cooperate with other Echoes that it could find nearby on the network to distribute information. And I decided that wasn't a good security risk either, so I've never enabled that feature. I don't want to discuss that feature in more detail because I don't even know whether Amazon still offers it. But there are certain things I feel the security risk is warranted. I mean, yes, the microphone is on all the time. Theoretically, someone could hack into the Echo and listen to what your conversations are. However, in order for them to do that, they would need to both hack into my Wi-Fi and probably the Amazon server system. And I consider the odds of that happening to be small enough to justify the convenience I get from using the devices. That is not to say that Amazon security or even my Wi-Fi security are anywhere near 100%. This is a risk assessment that needs to be thought about by each individual potential user of an Amazon Echo or any other kind of smart assistant device. And that's all I want to say about this right now, because I want to make sure we get some other general questions covered before we talk any more about security. The last thing I want to talk about specifically is the question, if I already have Siri, why do I need an Echo? Or if I already have an Echo, why do I need Siri? And I want to point out that that's because they do things slightly differently. If you don't want to pick up your phone all the time and say, hey, Siri, or double tap or tap and hold the button that gets Siri to come on, but you still want to know things like what's the weather or what was the ball game score or, you know, play me some music, then an Amazon Echo is a good thing to have in your house. If you are trying to do some specific things that are only available on, say, iPhone apps, such as Seeing AI or some of the other things, then using an iPhone with the assistance of Siri makes sense. And in my case, I use both. It just depends. When I'm at home, I tend to use Amazon Echo for the things that Echo devices do reasonably well, like what's the weather, or what's the ball score, or what, you know, what have you, those things it does fairly well. For other things, I definitely use Siri. And there are certain times when Siri gives me better information than the Echo, but there are also, although less frequently, times when the Echo gives me better information than Siri. So I know that's kind of a wishy-washy answer, but I don't know how best to say it, you know, because it's not cut and dried. One is not obviously better than the other. It's just that you use them differently. Okay, now I think I have nothing else planned to say. So because we're running short on time, I'd like to open it for final questions.
Stan, this is Tony.
Hi, Tony.
Going back to skills for a moment, I have several Echoes in the house, but no smartphones. So I'm dependent on the web-based interface to do things. And the ability to manage skills from the web-based has apparently gone away. and there's a message up where Amazon is warning you more things might go away, buy a smartphone. But how would I find out about skills without going out and buying a smartphone?
I think my advice would be to call or contact the Amazon Accessibility Center, which is on
That's
their
an
website,
idea.
and discuss it with them. Because they may transfer you to a different department, but they would have the most up-to-date information on how likely it is the set of skills that you're using are going to go away from the web-based interface. I kind of understand why they're doing this. I'm not sure I agree with it, but they're doing it because the support umbrella is too wide. There's too many moving parts that they have to keep technical people on staff for to support. And maybe there's just not as much demand for the web-based interfaces to do this. And that's unfortunate.
Once I've got a skill, I'm not worried about it going away at Amazon's behest. But to find out what skills are there.
Yeah. Yeah, I wish I could tell you that that's true. Amazon doesn't often make a skill go away, but they will make changes to the Echo and herself software framework that break skills. That happens a lot. And then it's a fight to get them to reactivate the skill. They like to blame the producer of the skill, and then the producer of the skill likes to say Amazon made a change, and then you have to get the two of them to work together to get the skill to work again. The most infamous of this is the old Instant Pot skill for the Amazon Echo devices. It is now completely broken. But for 3 years, I fought with them back and forth. They would bring the skill back, it would work. So I could tell my Amazon Echo, cook rice in my Instant Pot, and it would do it if it was a Wi-Fi connected Instant Pot. So I hate to tell you this, there are times, even when under the best of intentions, that existing skills stop working. I wish it weren't true.
Reverend Ray, can I ask you a question off subject, but it's about one of the devices?
Okay.
The Echo Frame glasses. Give me your opinion on that, please.
I have no opinion on it. I've never tried them. The device I use that is similar is I use the Orcam. And I'm not recommending the Orcam. I'm simply telling you that that's what I use, and that's what I would be in a position to talk about, but not today. Thank you.
When are you going to talk about the Orcam? Because my job just bought me one.
I recommend you talk to Sean about that, and we'll see what we can do.
Okay, I appreciate it. But that's a $4,000 thing I just have sitting here at work. Okay, yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yep.
Stan, this is Janice. What are your thoughts on some people who have multiple Echo devices? They name each device something different, like, one might be one might be Ziggy, one might be whatever else.
Unless it's changed recently, there's only a limited number of names you can give them. I think Google does a better job about giving them more names. It may not be, it may be more, but right now my understanding is you can call them herself or Alexa. Yeah, I know, you heard me. You can call it Echo, and you can call it Amazon. There may be other
States calling code is
Alexa, stop. See, she heard me.
Yeah, I think Ziggy is one too.
There may be now. I haven't actually looked. If the devices are in close proximity to one another, because the microphones can pick things up. For example, when I talk to the one here in my listening room, my door to the listening room is not completely closed, and I can hear the tone on the one out by my television in my TV room. So it hears me. So the fact that this one is closer, it's answering the questions. But every now and then I do indeed get the wrong one doing what answering my question. It's really annoying when the one that for somehow decides to answer my question is the one that's on the floor below me and I can't really hear it. How it heard me, I don't know. So yes, giving them names different names is helpful.
Stan, this is Tara. I have a question.
Sure.
If you don't have any of the devices, can you use the app on your smartphone to do everything that the machine would do? That the
yes, not as easily for some things, but yes. When you put the Amazon Echo or Alexa device on your phone, there's a button you can, Alexa, stop.
I didn't find anything.
Alexa, stop. There's a button on the phone, just like with Siri, you can sort of tap it, although unlike Siri, you can't hold the side button and have it respond, but there's a microphone button you can tap. And there's also a way to tell it just like Siri, instead of saying, hey, Siri, you can say herself and she can respond. Of course, you're giving up some advantages. You're giving up the better sound from the bigger speakers. So you're giving up hands-free, or at least nearly hands-free. Well, the standalone Echo devices are hands-free. On the phone, you either have to get pretty close to it or pick it up or tap the button. So you have to use your hands to get its attention or to use it. But yes, you can just use some of these facilities on a smartphone. And they support, the software runs on Android and on iPhone.
Great, thank you.
Anybody else?
Reverend Ray, again, just the question she asked about using your iPhone or your phone. Now, so if you're reading a book on, you know, on your Echoes or whatever, you mean also you can read that book on your phone? And what would be the command to be? Because I mean, if you're using it on the other free devices, like, you know, like I say, Alexa, you know, continue whatever my book. So you mean I can also go to my phone and read that book as well?
As long, yes, you can. And it's the same command.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Anything else? Anybody else? Well,
right.
go ahead. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, all right, Stan. Well, thank you so much for coming on again today. This was really helpful, and I really like the show and tell feature. That's such a cool feature, and I didn't even know about it till today. So I learned something, that's for sure.